No, I'm calling the audible on this. So welcome to the Work Podcast. Jessica Rose and I are going to book a flight to Minneapolis. This is a big teaching moment. So the salespeople signed me up to go to Minneapolis in a couple weeks, which is awesome. I've been begging to go see customers. I'm so excited to go see a customer. But I gave Jessica Rose the Erika special, which is like, maybe you could check what time the meeting is just to be sure I can get into Minneapolis on time. Jessica Rose is like, yeah, whatever. So then today, I'm like, all right, no, for real, Jessica Rose, how am I going to get to Minneapolis in time for the meeting? And which is in the morning. It's at 10:30 a.m.
Ooh.
And Jessica Rose is new to the Midwest travel game. Are you new to the Midwest? You're new to the Midwest travel game.
Traveled to the Midwest.
Okay, Jessica Rose is new to the Midwest travel game, where there's an hour time change and there's not so many flights. It's not like you're flying to California where there's a flight every 40 minutes. And then Jessica Rose drops the bomb on me on the walk over here that I need to be there an hour before the meeting. So Jessica Rose, let's look up the earliest flight from New York City to...
I do have them.
Minneapolis is the capital.
I have them.
Okay, what's the earliest?
So the earliest that I have found is a 6:05 to 8:05.
Okay, so let's just play that through. 6:05 out of what?
Out of LGA.
Okay, so 6:05 out of LaGuardia means that Erika is waking up at what time?
Probably 30.
That's in the... Yeah, that hurts. Versus, like, if we had a noon spot, what's the next flight? What are the flights after the 6 a.m.?
So we have a 6:15 to 8:20. There's a 6:50 to 9 a.m. There's 7:45 to 9:41.
Okay, but those aren't going to work.
What time's the meeting?
10:30, and I have to be there at 9:30.
Yeah.
So then do we know how far next up?
Oh, no. You have to be there at 10:30. Like 10:30 is an hour before
10:30 is
the actual.
Oh, well, how do we know how far the company is from
the airport?
I have to route that.
Let's do it right now, Jessica Rose.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so then how far is the company from the airport?
Let me see where the actual location. It's 2501 Hudson Road.
2501 Hudson.
Maplewood, Minneapolis.
Maplewood, Minneapolis. All right.
From airport. From
Minneapolis.
MSP.
Minneapolis Airport, right?
Yeah.
Do you know a famous singer who's from Minneapolis?
Feels like a trick question. I don't know.
No, it's a real question.
I have no idea.
Come on, Jessica Rose.
I'm really bad with. I'm so bad with stuff like that. I don't pay attention to stuff like that in life.
Is from.
He is?
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
I don't know things
Come
like that.
on, you guys.
I really don't.
Sorry. Well, how far is it from the airport?
It is 24-minute car ride.
Jessica Rose. All right. So
if you got to be there by 10:30.
if I get that 9:41, I could make it. But if it's at all late, I'm screwed. So it looks like Erika is getting up in the 4s.
Oh no. What about if you
There's an event the night before.
Ooh.
Here?
No. That's
Because I was gonna say, what can you fly in the night before?
All right, this is a risky endeavor. I would try to push that meeting back if I were you.
I'll message Claire.
But if it can't happen, it's a customer, so if it can't happen, can't happen. But real time, you got to do the work backwards plan.
Yeah.
So I have to be in New York City the night before?
For this.
All right, Jessica Rose. What is the learning lesson here?
Well,
There's no defense.
In my
We're a team.
brain, because it's so far out, that's like why I tackle it so far out. Because I'm like, oh, okay, then I can problem solve like now.
Oh, okay, yeah, we should start the problem solving like now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's today's cold open. Does that work for you, Jessica Rose?
It's fine. I'll take my lashings.
It's not a lashing. It's a lesson in Midwest travel, which is a good life lesson for anybody in business.
It is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta, it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And not so many options.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Not at all.
Okay.
I actually literally truly have never anywhere in the Midwest.
You've never been to Chicago?
No.
What?
Really?
I've literally gone to like
would love
the
Chicago.
I've gone to LA. I've gone to like
it's how
Vegas.
very
I've gone to
progressive.
Texas. Like,
Chicago's great. You got to go to Chicago.
So is Minneapolis.
and then
Yeah.
everywhere in like the
Minneapolis
South. I
actually
feel
really
like I've
nice.
done this. I've done the Eastern Coast.
You're
and the
like
Western
just a
Coast.
flyover. Well,
I find
not me, Jessica Rose.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there at 6 a.m.
And then don't you have to go to like Kansas at some point next year?
Yes, I'm going to Kansas in January. So
Yeah.
why don't we do that
That's
exercise
exciting.
next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Delta flies to Kansas somewhat, but more periodically.
Okay.
Good to know.
Thank you, Jessica
Sorry.
Rose. Don't be sorry. It's a good lesson. We're learning. All right. That's great.
Now work.
All right, so welcome back to work. This is our podcast. We were off last week for Labor Day, which really would have been an opportune day to have a work podcast, but it was very gorgeous out, and I hardly doubt that anyone was listening to work-related material on Monday. I had an awesome week last week. We had Work Like a Girl, AI Like a Girl at the Axon offices in Boston. It was awesome. Meg Ryan crushed it. All the advisory board crushed it. There were so many women there. Oddly, we had this panel that could have gone on forever. Like, it was so engaging. It was so interesting. If you're listening to this, I'll give you the big upshot. One is that if your company pays for your AI, have your own separate AI. So don't commingle. I pay for my own AI, so I commingle. I ask it all my random personal shit, and I ask it work questions interchangeably. But if your company owns or is funding your AI, be careful about how many personal questions you put in there. That was my first biggest takeaway. My second biggest takeaway is the observation of how many people are using their agents to navigate personal conversations. So they're putting in the attributes of a person who they're having challenges with, and the age and a little bit of background about that person, and then about themselves as well, and asking how to resolve conflict, which I thought was really interesting. I thought that was a great use of AI. That was my second biggest takeaway. Third biggest takeaway is that there's still a lot of fear around it, and that women are pretty dramatically falling behind in terms of their use of AI. And I think one of the biggest things is the more women can just start and try something and do something, the more adept and fluent that you get. And those were my biggest takeaways from the Work Like a Girl event, so our AI Like a Girl event. But it was awesome. We have a great network in Boston. This thing is happening. I thought it looked great. It was very
awesome.
cohesive.
I wanted to
It
be
looked
there. I
so
got
good.
FOMO.
It looked so good. And then the Axon offices in Boston were epic. The Axon board meeting, as always, is super interesting. So, like, Axon, I would describe it as really, 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 really smart, technically very savvy people. There's like some magic and mystery and chaos and curiosity to the company. And then there is this mission, which is so powering and empowering to people, which is around, less lethal weaponry, the idea of servicing law enforcement, the ability to help save lives and fight crime with technology. It's like so present and powerful. The other thing that was so cool, they did this Founders Day, what they called it a Founders Day panel, which was the 3 or 4 founders from Axon telling stories of the early days. And they were talking about failure really more than anything else, and how you look at a company like Axon now and you look at the stock and you see how much the stock's increased in the last year. I think it went from $100 to $800 roughly. And you're like, oh God, these guys have had it figured out forever. These people are so savvy. They've got it all figured out. They know what they're doing, which is true. But it was also so refreshing to go back to how many times they were almost bankrupt, and how many times they gave up or almost gave up, and how many, every purchase that they scrutinized. Like, one guy was telling a story about how they had a trade show and he bought a plant to kind of spruce up what the trade show booth looked like. And someone else in the founding team was like, what are you doing? Like, we don't have any money to spend on a plant. So I thought that was super, super inspiring. And I think it's a really great thing to remember that even companies now, which look so big and so successful, they all began somewhere, and that beginning of something can be so hard and so challenging and fraught with so many minutes and moments where you want to give up, and not giving up is a great skill in life, obviously, but it's also a really, really important skill if you have a dream at work. So even in your own personal journey, if you're thinking about how you progress your career and how you advance in your role or how you move up in your organization, or you're thinking about how can you make something happen for a company, being positive, being optimistic, and not giving up is the greatest skill that there is. So I really loved that. I was super inspired leaving Axon. I always am. I'm always like, gosh, it's like amazing. The problems that they're solving are such frontier problems. Sometimes I get frustrated at Food 52 because in large part we're solving problems that have been solved better by people a long time ago. And we're like, we don't have the foundation to be able to solve things easily or effectively. And that's a huge, huge challenge. And, but remembering, I think, how to be optimistic is something that I think is so, so important. We brought a woman into our team, Alicia. She's our chief commercial officer, and she's like great at the positivity. And I was reading more after I was leaving Axon about how positivity and optimism, even in the face of incredible stress, is the single greatest thing that a leader can bring to the table. And I really love that. So that's my opening thoughts for today.
Now work.
Oh, the IHOP CEO. All right, we're starting current events. This was traveling all around social. It actually was viral. You very rarely see business clips become viral. But this is the story of the former president of Applebee's, who is the current CEO of IHOP. And this lady's on a podcast, and she's like, hey, I was promised the CEO gig at Applebee's, and I worked my ass off, and I did everything that was required. I was crushing it. And I went to the CEO and was like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next big thing. Maybe it wasn't CEO, but it was a big job. And this then CEO of Applebee's was basically like, take a nothing done. Like, forget it, no chance, not happening. And so she was like, because you had committed to me that if I met all these objectives and I achieved all these outcomes, that I would have a chance at something bigger. And the guy just was like, no, I'm not giving that to you. You're not going to get it. And so she went and took a job as the CEO of IHOP. She's super talented. She obviously understands quick serve restaurants. She's clearly great at what she does in the space. And lo and behold, there became the opportunity to buy Applebee's, which as a natural semi-spiteful woman, she did. Probably made good business sense as well. And she tells the story of the call she made to the Applebee's CEO using the same language he gave her, which is, take a nothing done. You're not needed. I'll get this from here. So that was a great viral business story, great example of when one door shuts, another door opens, and also to be good to people in business because you never know when they're going to show up again. So our second current events topic is an interview with Brian Chesky from Airbnb, the Airbnb CEO at the Fortune Global Forum, and he's talking about how the future waits for no one.
Every CEO here is whatever you want to call it, a disruptor, whatever you want. Is or was at some time a disruptor. I have a culture internally, which is to say, always be the first to adopt a new platform, never be the last. The people that are the last to adopt a new platform, there's no room on the platform for you. We were pretty late to launch an iPad app. We didn't do it for a couple of years. The team had all these reasons why we had to be focused. And eventually we got the iPad app out, but then we also developed a watch app and a TV app for Apple TV, and we were one of the launch partners. And the team internally is like, why should we spend all of our development resources on these two applications that so few people are using? We have tens of millions of people over here using a website or using a phone. Why aren't we developing all our resources there? And if you're focused on today, you're going to focus on your core. The good news is that even the future belongs to nobody. The future belongs to whoever wants to go there first.
I love that. I think it's totally true. Like if you look at the success of, at least in my career time, you you look at the early success of Microsoft or the early success of Yahoo or the early success of AOL, or you even look at the early success of Barstool Sports, like we got to podcasting first at Barstool. And as a result, we grew disproportionately fast. And I think that's true in general for companies. And I think it's a hard decision for companies to make because exactly as Brian says in this quote, like you're like, hey, we're not doing enough for all the hundreds of millions or tens of millions or thousands of people we have over here. Why are we spinning up our resources on something that's unproven? And I think it's a good reminder to companies to continue to, skate not just to where the puck is going, but where you think the puck is going to go after that, and to really be thinking about the future, because this is where startups and young companies and entrepreneurs have a natural advantage, is they're not encumbered by having so many big users over here. They're only thinking about the place the world is going. And it's very, very hard for big companies, speaking back to the Axon of it all, like Axon is incubating all of these new platforms. They're incubating new technology. They're thinking about new customer sets. It's very, very, very hard to pull itself away from its core customer set and the core business as it's set today. And this is, it's a little bit the innovator's dilemma, but it's a good reminder really to anyone around. It's a good reminder to anyone, whether you're running a company, whether you have a good job, whether you want the next job, like get to where the future is. The future waits for no one. It's not beholden to anyone. It's granted to the people who get there first. I think that's a great message. Our last current event topic is from Instagram, where we saw a stat that says nearly half of Gen Zers have their mom regularly talk to their boss. So can you zoom on this a little bit, Sarth? All right. So in this case, Gen Zers are saying that their parents are involved in certain job responsibilities all the time. Reviewing performance reviews, directly communicating with their manager, packing their lunch, helping to complete work assignments, and even going to the workplace. In the often category, it is reviewing performance reviews. This is crazy. I have to be honest. I interviewed someone when I was at Barstool. This is probably 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was for an engineering position. And this person was from a big established sports league. And he was like, hey, before I take this job, I'd really like you to meet my wife. And I was kind of like head scratching of like, all right, so now I got to sell this guy to like come do product and engineering. And I have to sell his wife. Like, this is crazy. And I actually thought, part of me was like, wow, that's really respectful in a relationship that you want your partner to be, have a very active seat at the table and looking at a job. As a hiring manager, I thought it was insane, where I'm like, I don't understand this. I think I probably brought some bias on, why do I need to sell your wife that you should be having this job? I think if someone was like, I need you to talk to my mom about my performance review, I would be like, your performance review is over. Like, I don't think you should work here. But I do think this is happening. So my point is not just Gen Z. The person I'm talking about is probably an older millennial at this point. But I do think this thing is happening where people are becoming less and less resilient. We've talked about that. I do think this thing is happening where parents are becoming more over and overbearing. Like, they're so actively involved in everything. Like, I was laughing this weekend where my son had a football game, and there's 2 professional photographers at the football scrimmage. So it's not even a game. This is freshman year football in August, and there are 2 professional photographers taking hundreds and hundreds of photos. Like, I played sports until like my last day of college. I never had a professional photographer anywhere near the field. And it's just, I think it shows like we're just obsessed with our children. You're obsessed with capturing every moment. We're taking a very, very active role in everything. You can track when your kid's in an Uber. You can see where your kid is all the time. I was like, oh my God, if my parents could have tracked where I was all the time, I would have been fucked. And now, like, kids can't even get away with anything because your parents always know where you are. Like, the this defiance and disobedience, and also not having everything captured all the time, and not having your mom or your parent be there every moment, I think is becoming pretty rare. And I think it's interesting, and I think it is going to spill over to how people enter the workplace, and also their expectation of the role their parent is going to have in the workplace.
Do you think it is more of an overparenting issue, or do you think it is Gen Z, or maybe, I guess, Gen Z not having the capability of standing up for them, like not having the confidence?
I think it's all the parents. I think that Gen Z isn't confident because, well, that's a gross generalization. I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha will have more of a problem than Gen Z, and whatever Gen comes after Gen Alpha will have a bigger problem than them. That kids are spending so much time on their screens. And this isn't a judgment, like it's true in my household too. Kids are spending so much time on their screens. They're not spending any time being uncomfortable. They are never lost. They're never left alone. There is always, and the screen is so magnificently addictive that they are never uncomfortable. And then when they're forced to be uncomfortable, I see this, like I hate this about myself as a parent, is like the minute your kid's uncomfortable, you're like, ooh, can I help? What can I do? Can I make it better? So I don't know. I think they don't know different, and they're going to learn that discomfort very much later than, let's say, I learned it, or maybe you all learned it, or the people after you. Like it's becoming later and later. Kids are leaving home later and later. They're independent later and later. They're struggling things that people used to struggle with as little kids. They now struggle with as big kids, and things that big kids used to struggle with, or adults used to. Do you know what I mean? It's all getting pushed uphill. And then I think the other piece of it is that everything is recorded. So it's also hard to struggle because you have no anonymity to struggle.
This is a wild stat, though. 3 in 4 Gen Zers took their parents to interviews.
I mean, that's just wrong, but...
I'm curious. Like, do you think that, because I know for millennials, we kind of, our reaction to how we were parented was like we were parented harder, you know what I mean? Like we had like stricter,
than
like
Gen
harder
Zs?
parents, just in general. Like my, like I had really strict parents.
Okay.
And I knew a lot of people that had really strict parents. And I think the reaction of millennials has been to do the opposite, which is where you get like the gentle parenting of it all. Do you think that Gen Z, when they start having children, will have like the reaction, well, I didn't have enough structure in my life. Now I'm going to be like really strict.
Probably.
I think it all comes in waves personally.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all.
Oh, that's how I see it. Like whenever in the future, if I ever have kids, I'm like thinking about now at seeing all of this, like making notes to myself, like, oh, like what would be an ideal thing to do for like a 2-year-old, like to build structure in their life. So when they're like 7 or 8, they're confident enough to be...
Yeah, to go do things.
To go do things, but also be okay being uncomfortable and finding themselves in like their actual desires and not just being locked behind a screen.
Yeah.
So
I think it's hard. I think the other piece of it is there's a little bit of like the prevailing age. Like I'm old enough where I didn't grow up with screens, period. So, but yet I let my children use screens all the time. And I hate myself for it, but... So I think it's a little bit of it's hard to...
Double-edged sword.
You can't hide technology. You can't repress technology. It's so pervasive, so...
Now work.
All right, so we're starting with Jack? Okay, Jack.
All right.
Just side note, I always call Jack O'Brien, which
Well, it's
is
because
so
of
funny.
Peter. I now
know.
realize it was because of Peter. I saw Peter's name pop up, and I was like, okay, this is where she got O'Brien from.
All right, so we have Jack Fischer. Jack Fischer, welcome to the Work podcast. What is the greatest lesson you've learned at work?
Ooh. Well, thank you for having me on, Erika.
Oh, thank you for
Very
being here,
excited
Jack.
to be here.
I'm sure you're excited about it.
The greatest lesson I've learned is how important it is to build trust with the teams, the individuals that you're working with, not only on your team, but across the company.
Okay, and how do you do that?
First is, in my experience, listening for a while. before you come in, before you have any opinions, anything you want to change, really spend time understanding what they do, what problems they face, what they see as success, and what they want to achieve. And over time, work with them to help achieve those goals. And then, when you get the feet, your footing under you, start to work with them.
Push a little bit
and
more.
push a bit more.
Yeah.
And that push becomes easier when that trust is already built.
That's smart. I like that. Okay, so you're an FP&A person. How did you always know you wanted to be a finance guy? Are you a finance guy? Would you call yourself I'm a finance guy? Like you're at a bar on Friday night. Are you like, I work in finance? What do you say?
Yeah.
What do
I
you
tell
say?
people I am in finance.
Okay.
I like to think I'm more than that. I like to think
I agree.
I like to think finance is more than just finance.
I agree.
I think it is a very important tool for a company. For me, the way that I got into finance, I originally was an investment banker. I didn't really know what else it was. Quickly found out I did not like that life.
How come?
I felt like a lot of the work that you did was transactional in nature. And I really wanted to help a company build, grow. And, I met somebody who did FP&A finance and explained how important it is to the business. And whether you wanted to do finance in your career later on or whatever you wanted to do, it's a great foundational skill to have.
I agree with that.
And that's why I pursued it.
Great.
And I think it's been great so far.
It has. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And so when you're at a bar, and someone's like, oh, hey, Jack, what do you do? Do people ask that anymore?
Yes,
Do
absolutely.
millennials care what other millennials do?
Absolutely.
Okay, they
and you
do.
get the look, that you're in finance.
Oh, you get the look?
Yeah, they're like, you're in
In
finance.
a good
They're
way
like-
or a bad way?
I think it's not as interesting as a profession potentially.
Well,
at
that's
times.
terrible.
It's okay.
I mean, if you're wearing a vest and like a blue checkered shirt, you don't even have to ask. Like,
I
you're
don't
like,
wear that at the bar.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I like that about you. Okay. I think FP&A is an incredible job. It is the backbone of a company. Like when I look at a lot of our problems as a company, I'm like, if we had tighter FP&A, stronger FP&A in the business, we would have, and accounting, but we would have seen around corners we didn't see around. So I agree with that. I don't think you're going to be a finance guy forever, though. I think you're going to move into ops and strategy, and you'll do other things, and then I think that's great for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
That would be great. Yeah,
Okay.
and I think when you're also at a smaller business, a startup, a lot more of those other opportunities sneak into that FP&A finance side of the business.
I agree.
Which is a great
Yeah,
experience.
you can't be good at FP&A unless you understand the dynamics of the business. That's what makes it so strong.
And understanding your leadership team as well, what they want to see, and help them make the decisions to drive the company forward.
I love that. All right, so I guess Jack and I are having generational knowledge. Are you excited, Jack?
I love generational knowledge.
I think you're an old soul, so it's funny to ask you questions. All right. Here's today's topic for Jack. Should junior executives,
Like,
would you be insulted if I called you a junior executive? I would be insulted if you called me, if I was Jack Fischer and I was like, you're a junior executive.
I think it's
Don't
okay.
care.
I don't think
You don't
it's
care.
okay.
All right, well, that's a Jessica roast. All right,
I didn't know
know.
junior executives
What is
existed.
a junior executive?
I have no idea.
It's like an executive with training wheels. Anyways, do you think FP&A teams or junior executives should challenge executive assumptions more aggressively, even if it creates friction?
I think it's important. This is the job of an FP&A individual. Is
You're
to
not
build,
challenging assumptions. You're kind of fucked.
Well, you need
You
to,
make the
yes, but you
assumptions.
also need to make sure whatever you're putting forward in front of the executive team, in front of the leadership team, has the narrative behind it, right? It's not just showing the numbers. You have to tell the story.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you would hope the story that you're telling leads your team to get to the goal
The right
of what you want
conclusion.
and the right conclusion.
And how do you handle when you have to push more aggressively? Like, do you throw up your hands and walk away, which I think is the most dangerous thing for an FP&A person to do? How do you push? Because a lot of times I think the challenge of FP&A and finance in general is showing people things they don't want to see or telling them things they don't want to hear. So how do you do that with the people you work with?
I think, one, you have to show the problem.
Yep.
But you can't just show the problem. You have to follow up and say, here's how we solve it. Here's how we could, or give options to how we can solve it, right? Give your thoughts and help move the company forward, not just saying, here's the problem, you need to solve it.
Yep.
But show different options on how we could solve it, how we get to the conclusion and get to it quickly.
And how do you, I would guess you have to meter that depending on who you work with.
Yes.
Like when you work with Alexis here versus Alicia, it's totally different, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the best things about FP&A is you work with so many different departments, and it's a great learning to see how different people view businesses, what's important to them, right? When you show them a P&L or profit and loss or performance of a company, where do their eyes go, right? What is important to them? What do they need to think about? And that's the learnings as you're a junior executive, or you're growing throughout your career, is think about how to have these conversations with different departments who all have different perspectives and need things to push their part of the business moving forward.
I think that's great. Okay, my last question for you is, how transparent should a company be about its finances? How do you think about that?
That's a great question. I think transparency is always incredibly important. I think employees value that very highly, the transparency. You can't share everything. That's just the nature of it. But I think it is important to understand, what are the company goals? What do we want to achieve? Maybe throughout the year, give an understanding of where we are. But getting really into the nitty gritty is difficult. But transparency on what's our revenue target for the year,
how are we progressing,
where do we need to push? Do we need to be thinking, if spend needs to be tighter? Like we need to be very conscious on how we're spending. And hopefully that comes through in the day-to-day from the leadership team, the managers of each of the groups, and being clear with your employees of what the goals are.
I think that's great. Do you think, in your experience, that more or less people than you thought at work are financially literate?
I think less.
I'm always shocked.
And it also sometimes is, anybody at any level. Numbers at times.
Numbers can be intimidating.
Intimidating.
I agree with numbers being intimidating, but I think the more dangerous thing is the lack of curiosity, the not wanting to face the problems that the numbers show. I find I'm always surprised by that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Are you? No?
No, I think that's very, very true. I agree with that. I'm curious to why.
Because I think people are afraid of it because it's confronting. The numbers don't lie. I mean, they do, but they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jack. Well, thank you for doing this. I'm so glad you're here. What's your favorite thing and least favorite thing about Food 52?
My favorite thing and least favorite thing. I think I'll start with least.
Is it the lunch options?
I actually
fucking hate
it is a double-edged sword.
I don't want to swear because I feel like your dad's going to listen to this, and I'd like your dad to think I'm a classy individual.
No. I know this is a great problem to have, but the amount of food and the food that's put out is so good.
Oh,
I can't resist it.
Are you a come and get it guy?
I'm a huge come and get it guy.
It's so funny. All the finance people are come and get it people.
I love it. It is so good, but it's also a lot of food.
Yeah.
And I am not good at resisting temptation.
Okay, so you have the Food 5215?
Yeah. I think that is a thing. The Food 5215 is
real? Okay.
Is very real.
Okay, what's your favorite?
And I think here, the employees are great. It's a young group. Everyone's very excited to work. And there's a lot of opportunity. And being at a small company is very exciting. And I think we're all bootstrapping here and working hard together to make this place successful.
That's great. Okay. Well, thank you for doing that. I think I can do better.
No, Erika, you've been great.
That's not true. Walking hot mess. But, well, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Now work.
Let's have you introduce yourself. Who are you and how did you cross my path?
Oh my God.
I just want to say I met this woman in a gas station gray jumpsuit, which was fabulous and fabulously accessorized. I just wanted to pet you.
Thank you.
Which I didn't know you well enough to pet you.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, maybe at the end of this podcast,
I can
we
pet
can
you.
revisit that. Hey, I'm Nadja. I'm a writer, agency founder, photographer, celebrity interviewer based in New York City. And I have been doing this for way too long, about 15 years.
And what makes a good celebrity interviewer, in your opinion?
Interviewer, interviewee, I would say interviewer. I think you need to be casual, off the cuff, and treat them like a friend.
Okay. Now, when I met you, everybody whispered your name like they're afraid of you.
Oh, good.
Why are they afraid of you?
Do
you think people are afraid of you? I mean, I was like I needed to sit up straight. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to sit up straight for this lady.
I hope that people are afraid of me just because, it requires a lot of resilience to stay even with one leg in journalism for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, why even bother?
Yeah, I got you. I think that's great.
It's changed so much, especially the past few years. It's very sad.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who loves reporting or loves,
how would you
newsrooms.
describe the change?
I think that it's become really a lot of pay for play. I think advertorial has definitely taken over. I think that the integrity of journalism is dying. I think it's sad that there's no budget for fact checkers anymore. Mm-hmm. And
everything's like an affiliate.
Everything is an affiliate link, and it's like if there's self-interest in there, it's no longer objective. Mm-hmm. So like this old school way that you study it in school, like J school, they call it for journalism.
Big J for journalists.
Yeah,
Yep.
J school, which I did go to in Toronto, but it's, it's gone. And also the freedom is gone. The freedom to be critical. Like back when I was at Vice, I mean, we could say whatever we wanted, and that was awesome.
Yeah, that was actually encouraged.
Because it was like you could just be brutally honest and free and not have to worry about lawsuits.
And now you have to worry about the backlash and being litigious, people being litigious. And
it's mostly about PR. People have more control than the journalists.
So that balance has shifted.
Yeah, the shift of power is like we are just, these small little minions, even after being in the industry for so long, it just doesn't matter anymore. It's like, okay, well, if you're not going to give us all the interview questions, and if you're not going to interview these 3 people that we're telling you to, you don't get access. And it's like, oh, okay, bye.
So the gatekeepers are very strong.
Yeah, they're there. They have like overt, like helicopter mom vibes at all times.
Okay, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me, let's go through your books. I just want to read the titles because they're fabulous. Like whether you read these things or not, nobody reads books, but these are very short
That's
with a lot of pictures.
That's why I make photo books, because nobody
they're
reads.
Amazing. Okay, so one is Paparazzi Bitch. Parties. This is the new book.
That's the new one that's going to be coming out.
Parties. The Glitzerati.
Yeah.
Biennial Bitch. What is this one about?
Biennale Bitch.
Oh, shit. Biennale.
Biennale Bitch is about art biennials in Europe. And then
my personal favorite, which is Red Carpet Hoe. What's a red carpet hoe?
A red carpet hoe is a hoe who stands on the red carpet for their half their life, just waiting for celebrities to come across their path on that red carpet.
Oh, okay. As the
them.
reporter.
As the reporter. I was like, why am I spending so much time standing here on these makeshift red carpets with taped, names on the floor? And it's just, it's like, what am I doing here?
Do you hate the machine that you're a part of, or do you wish, what do you love? What do you hate? What do you wish would go back to old school? What are you excited about that's new?
I'm really excited about podcasts.
Okay.
I think podcasts are the future of a type of journalism because people want to tune into conversations.
Yeah.
It's way more interesting than news robots, boring political journalism.
Yeah, you can't AI that so much. I mean, you can, but...
No, it's more interesting. It's like you're in somebody's living room at a party overhearing a conversation. I think podcasting is the future. In terms of, what I wish would change, I guess more budgets for real journalism, but now that's going to Substack.
Yeah.
So as long as it
it's
lives
self-funded.
on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you have a Substack?
I do.
Do you like it?
Not really. I prefer to just upload videos to TikTok from, conversations. And I mean, what I love about interviewing celebrities more than anything is being able to ask them, what advice do you have to give to young artists? Because everybody here in this country, and I can say this objectively as a Canadian who's an immigrant, is the American dream is all about being rich and famous. Everybody idolizes these people like gods. Celebrity culture is really a machine in itself that's been created here. We don't have Hollywood in Canada.
Yeah, it's perfected in this country. Europe doesn't have Hollywood so much.
You know, it's a beautiful
India
art.
maybe does.
India has Bollywood.
India has Bollywood, but the Americans there's a special conniving
Magic
machine
to it.
to it. Yep. Okay.
So I just always want to ask celebrities. My secret motivation is to always ask them what they have to give back and what their wisdom is and what they have to share with young artists to sort of inspire them to keep going in their careers.
And who had some good advice?
Christina Ricci.
Okay.
She said, "Don't listen to me. Listen to yourself. You know what you have to do."
That's great advice in general for anyone.
Right. Rick Ross was all about positivity and staying on a high vibration, which I totally agree with. It just depends on who it was. But I tried to put a lot of those in Red Carpet Ho just because.
Those are the things that stuck with you.
Well, it's like the most interesting thing. It's timeless advice.
Yep. How do you think about... Do you sleep? Like, how do you, because you have to be everywhere to get a lot of your stuff. How does your day work?
I feel like I'm not busy enough. I mean, I'm a single woman. I've never had kids. I'm turning 45 this year.
Great. Congratulations.
So, thank you. I've been free
Do
of that
you feel
machine.
weird about that?
No, I love it.
Okay.
I feel like I've escaped a system that's rigged against me. So thanks to my mom for being cold-hearted bitch. Love you. But it's like I would love to publish 30 books before I die. That's my goal, maybe one a year. And even if nobody reads them, nobody buys them, it's just about me. It's about my legacy. And, creating my name as a brand, which journalists are not supposed to do unless they have the company telling them that. So I love that I'm kind of a little bit more independent and a free thinker. But my typical day is, wake up relatively early, get some writing
What's
done.
relatively early?
I don't know, 7, 8.
Okay, that's early. I wake up at 7.
And
I
then
think that's early.
answer some emails, get some writing done, write an article or two, and then head out to the gym, come back, have some meetings, and then head out to events, sometimes 3 per night. It's New York City, so that's not necessarily out of the ordinary, but I have done really crazy things, like get on a plane for a 15-minute interview in another country. And a lot of people...
And do you resent that, or are you like, I'm in?
I mean,
I'm going to hit my shot.
I'm in, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
And you've flown all the way.
And I'm like knocking on the door. That's like one of the first stories in here when I had to go interview Paula Abdul during her Vegas residency. And they were like, oh, she'll do the interview tomorrow. She'll do the interview tomorrow. And then I'm like knocking on the...
You're like, I'm still here.
I'm like, they're like, sorry, she's not in the mood. She just doesn't feel good, and slammed the door in my face. And I was like, cool, okay, I guess I'll get back on the plane. And like 5 hours home, I didn't get the interview, but I got photos and the story behind it, that rejection is in there.
That's great. So one of the things that I talk about a lot on this is just this gig economy. Like, we're moving to a gig economy. More and more people will live in a gig economy. You have been in the gig economy. That's not new.
Yeah.
What's your advice to people getting into that? Because it takes it takes a lot of organization.
Yes.
It takes a lot of initiative. You have to say yes when you feel like no. What's your advice to people living in that?
Be careful, because you're very easily disposable. So if you mess up in one instance with the wrong person, you may never be used by that company ever again, because you're just a gig person. You're not on staff. You're not like a PR rep at
There's
at
no
a
loyalty
corporation.
to you.
No, you're replaceable, and you have to realize
I think that's actually a really good piece of advice, because it's so interesting. We were looking at a current event thing earlier today about how there's, I think, this resentment that companies are no longer loyal to people. That this idea of which is 100% true. I think, sure, in our grandparents' time, companies were loyal. You're like a lifelong GE employee, whatever. But there is also a flip side of that coin of, when a company hires you in a full-time gig, they are more accepting of good days, bad days, highs, lows, mistakes. When you're in the gig economy, you got one. Like, what I love about you is you take your shot. Like the photograph is a shot, the interview on the red carpet is a shot, but you're also really saying that's the ethos of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no investment in people who are working in the gig economy. So you have to invest in yourself.
And how do you advise people to do that? Because I'm sure people are like, ooh, like I even struggle with it. It was interesting. Like when I launched this podcast, they were like, well, you have to put money into promoting it. And I was like, oh gosh, like I don't know that I would ever put my own money to promoting this. And then I was like, well, what else am I putting my money towards? Like it's actually an interesting dialogue. How do you invest back in yourself in this profession?
I mean, I have to always be creating goals and trying to meet them. And they have to be better than the year before. And you have to be hard on yourself. Because if you're not hard on yourself, who's going to do it for you? No, you're just going to lay back, be lazy. For me, a great contributing factor was living in Germany. I lived and worked in Berlin for 7 years. And that's where a lot of the
I feel
photos.
like we're playing cards. It's like I'm playing rummy with my mother.
In here. Yeah. So with parties, it was like
I'll
really.
Hold it up for you. I'll Vanna White you.
Okay, there we go.
Parties.
I mean, Berlin is a very free place. It thrives on nightlife. I was a party photographer. That's how I started out.
I could totally see that.
But at the same time,
did you wear black?
Yeah, I wore black all the time. But the thing with Germany is that rules are really kind of set in stone. But in America, everybody thinks they can bend the rules. And so I'm just kind of, I don't know, it was a good experience.
So did you get your hand slapped?
It was just more about living in a really highly disciplined society where all the trains show up on time.
Okay, which is lovely.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like very structured. Here, people are less disciplined, I find.
Yes.
They're more distracted by social media very, very easily. They're very vain.
Yeah.
And, you can tap into that and use it to your advantage. Or at the same time, you can just figure out a way to get ahead past them.
Yeah, there's more scheming here. There's more creativity. There's more like if you have gumption and initiative and take risk versus order, which is why this country launches more celebrities. It's why it's more because there is that creativity. There's that spark. There's the unpredictability.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you invest in yourself. You take every shot you get.
Always.
How do you deal with rejection?
You just have to keep going. It doesn't really matter, sometimes it takes certain authors, if you look at it, or even screenwriters, 10 years to sell a script or to sell a book. And, you have to be willing to send it out to publishers, like over 100 of them. Just like, if you really commit to 300 pitches a day, I mean, you will be successful. You will be rich if that's what your goal is. But, being able to be resilient and bounce back and not feel sorry for yourself and not, because a lot of creative people, they're moody, they're emotional, they want to feel sorry for themselves because it's poetic and romantic. But at a certain point, you have to get up, and
start it over again tomorrow.
And I know that sounds really kind of like boring, like doing laundry, but you build strength over the years, and maybe you hopefully gain respect.
Yeah. What's your wish for your legacy?
I mean, I just hope that people remember me as somebody who, I come from like a blue collar family. My dad was a cab driver. He was from Palestine, and I was a first generation Canadian. My mom's Scottish, and the fact that I was able to come here, after 9 years in Europe, living in Paris, in Berlin, and being trilingual, and being able to live in New York City is a huge privilege. A lot of people don't realize what people it's so busy on the subway. There's too many people, but
that's such a luxury.
It's like, you have to be like Hercules, like to even just get to this point to like live here and move here. And like, it's insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was always my dream to live here. And, a lot of people have the privilege to have citizenship. Maybe that will be an option for me one day, but, New York City is really tough, but it's also tougher elsewhere as well. So I definitely think that a lot of creatives need to get better at tooting their own horn by doing their own PR. A lot of people can't afford PR agencies. They don't need to. They just have to make sure they always have a book coming out, or they have to make
something
sure
to promote.
Yeah, exactly, right? And as long as you always have something on the future and the horizon to focus on and talk about, that kind of sometimes can keep you going.
How do you build relationships with people? Like, because clearly I think access is very much driven by relationships. Like, how do you think about that?
I mean, it's strange because, in this industry, there's like a lot of this buddy stuff. It's like, you're my best friend. Oh my God. But I just kind of like to keep things like sort of straight to business. If there's something that I want, I'll ask for it. And sometimes I even get in trouble or turn people off because I call a spade a spade.
Yeah. You seem very direct. Yeah, you're blunt. Yeah.
But I also don't like to waste time.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, I'm busy.
So, like, let's keep this train moving.
Yeah.
Are we moving?
Yeah.
Are we getting any closer, or are we just, waffling? So, trying to just keeping that focus. But building relationships, I'm very, with recent experiences that I've had, I've got to say, I'm tentative to sort of build relationships because sometimes if you build relationships too deeply, then there's an expectation.
Yeah. And it becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so I always try and make sure, like, if you have work friendships, I mean, there's still work at the end of the day. It's not more about the friendship. It's more about the work because you met in a work circumstance. Unless you're willing to totally cut off that work part and just be friends. But it's some people just conflate the two and it becomes a very gray area.
Especially when you're working freelance or you're creative. Like, it's emotional work. It's outside of office hours. There's nothing corporate about it. Like, that's got to be actually those boundaries. That's actually probably way more of something that eats headspace than one would think.
Yeah, my therapist has heard all about it. So, but really, like, you just have to, at the end of the day, just, it's work is work. I mean, unless you can live off of your friendships. Which would be great.
Absolutely. I just finished this book called Girl on Girl. Have you heard about this book?
No, but what is it about?
It's very interesting. It is a walk through the last 40 years in culture and how women are portrayed and perceived and how the machine spits out women. And it's actually, I think you would like it because I think you've had a front row seat for it. So it talks about how, like in the 1980s and the 90s, there was the rise of like the girl bands and women were angry. And it talks about the rise of rap and how women are portrayed. It's actually very interesting. I think you would appreciate it because what it really gets to is, look, it's the Madonna and the whore of it all. Like, and it's also, it talks a lot about how porn's influence on celebrity and the role of women, but also how the machine prefers celebrity that's very packaged and very controllable, which is to say passive and young versus standout, strong women. And I think you would like it because I think you've covered celebrity in so many different facets and also in a lot of different forms, and you yourself have been in that mix.
Yeah, but the thing that stayed sort of consistent throughout much of the time is the beauty standards that have been imposed on women. Like, you're not going to get famous unless you get that nose job, unless you're a size 2.
Yeah.
Unless you have this like all-American, Brandy Melville type of look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes we get like a different flavor, like, hey, there's a Lizzo, hey, there's this, there's that.
Yeah, there's a
like
Kardashian, but then it's got its own standards tied to it.
Yeah, and then do they just end up conforming to it in order to stay in the system?
Yeah. That's interesting.
So I'm always thinking like that's what my book Paparazzi Bitch is all about. Is like, what does the female gaze in celebrity photography look like? Because so much of it is, what the men think. Like Rose McGowan, I shot her in a hotel, right? In a hotel bedroom in London. And she's like, I'm going to sit on the bed. And I was like, okay, whatever you want, girl. And we just had fun with those photos. Jennifer Lawrence, Sheryl Crow. I mean, how does a woman capture these celebrities different than the predator and prey chase of, a male photographer and a female celebrity? Tom York, the singer of Radiohead, backstage at the Venice Film Festival when all the journalists were just putting out paper to try and get his signature because they were just all fangirling out. Huh. And the PR person was yelling at them like, "This is disgusting. You're so unprofessional." Nobody cared.
Yeah, they just want the photo. They want the shot.
They were under the spell.
What's the secret to getting a great shot, do you think?
Taking a photo when you're not supposed to.
Yep.
Because if a celebrity is on a red carpet and everybody's like, there's like 30 photographers and everybody's pointed at that, they're going to get the same smile, the same photo. I'm not saying go and wait outside their house, because that whole like actual paparazzi thing is
gross. Yeah, and dangerous.
It's just, I just don't have time for that. But there's some people who make their living doing that, and they're very good at it. Ron Galella, went down in history, and now his paparazzi photos of Jackie Onassis are in museums. But she also filed a restraining order against him because he was a stalker. Like it's insane. So to me, I prefer to photograph celebrities when they're glammed up and they're coming to events and they're stepping out of the car and they're entering the venue, and you've got black night behind them and you just see them walking and there's motion and they're looking around. Like, I love arrivals and departures, or even approaching them and when they're seated, or just to get like any kind of different shot, because it's always the same thing over and over. Like Alicia Keys, this was in Berlin. She was walking through the crowd to go up on stage. And I was like, stop. I always say, like, stop. Like, one more for the woman photographer, because all the men, and then like they always hear it's always the woman who stop and turn around. So I have all these photos of women celebrities.
Well, good for you. I love that.
Just turning around, like, because I wait for all the men to do their thing, and they're like yelling and telling the celebrities what to do, which is what you have to do. You have to be willing to like tell a celebrity, okay, now can you go like this, or like, can you look over here? And a lot of people are so afraid.
You have to be very directive.
Yeah, but they're used to it, right? But a lot of people around you will look at you like you're out of your mind because you're yelling at these people, and then you get the shot. But the biggest challenge nowadays, I find, within the past 5 years, is people with their phones thinking that their Instagram story is more important than your like $10,000 camera, and it's like in the shot, and they're just like random people behind you just putting in like their, and you have to like kind of like swat them
like
out
flies.
of the way, like, excuse me, like this is my job, this is not my Instagram story, like I'm actually making a living doing this, like please get your phone out of the way. And so it depends on what kind of day some photographers are having, but man,
that's a lot.
You gotta keep your patience no matter what, because you're still on the clock.
Okay, so let's leave us with, how do people follow you and find you?
Okay,
Let's start there.
My name is so unique.
It is so unique.
Nadjasayej.
And you pronounce it Nadja.
Nadja Sayej. Yo, what's up? So if you just find me on Instagram, TikTok, whatever have you.
I mean, that's like a brand name.
You
have like a clothing label name.
But it like smells like falafel a little bit.
I don't think so.
It's like, and I'm into that. I'm totally like, I don't like deep fried food anymore, but I like hummus. So my byline smells like hummus and pita bread.
You know what's so funny? Last night at dinner, I played What's Your Favorite Vegetable, which is like the stupid shit I do to entertain teenagers. And mine was chickpeas, because chickpeas make hummus. I love hummus.
Right? Isn't it the best?
It's the best. Oh,
Yes.
Hold on, let me demo yours. Okay, so where do they find you? With the J's.
Yeah, with the
Nadja
J's.
Sayej.
Nadja Sayej. Yeah, you can just find me on social media, and that's where I'm at.
That's great. And where would they find your work? Where do they buy your books?
You're going to have to contact me for that. I think that, I think I've got it. Got it on TikTok Shop and got it on Amazon. But, if you want a signed copy,
ooh,
DM
okay.
me. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Actually, sorry, one last question. What are your 3 biggest tips to succeed? If there's a my Jessica Rose this week, today, used the word junior executive. So let's say there's a junior NJ out there. What's your advice to her?
My first advice is channel your inner Aquarius, because Aquarians are very good at making objective decisions that are not emotional. And that's why I admire them so much as a Scorpio, because
very difficult.
It's very difficult for me to make an objective, non-emotional decision. So channel your inner Aquarius, or ask your own Aquarius advisory board, because I have them. But being able to make sure that you make objective decisions is basically what I'm saying. Because if it's clouded by emotion, or I want to take this, if I want to take this job because there's this guy in this out of the city that I like, it's not an objective thing. My second piece of advice is to always be inspired, because if you are inspired, your own work that inspiration is going to bleed out everywhere like magic dust. And you want the people around you to be like jacked up on that. So they keep coming back to you for work. And I would say number 3, file before deadline. Always make sure you're ahead of your deadlines because people, and be early and things like that, because it's just kind of like a sign of respect. Sometimes people take it really personally and are offended if, you go over time, you do go over budget. If you, so I would just say, I always try and file a day early. I always pay rent early. Like I'm like a fucking nerd.
That is the best piece of advice I've heard somebody say. I love that.
Okay, good.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
you are
anytime.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now work.
All right, we're doing strategery. Strategery is back. Our strategery phrase today is let's take it offline. I am guilty of using this one. I think it's annoying, the whole offline, online of it all. Like there really isn't anything anymore that's offline. But let's take it offline technically means let's discuss this topic privately at a later time or in a different setting than in our current meeting or group discussion. It's a polite way to manage the flow of conversation by shifting a complex, lengthy, or relevant topic away from the larger group to maintain focus and efficiency. It can also be used politely to end an uncomfortable or a difficult conversation. I think it's a little cheesy, the phrase, like, let's take it offline. I do think it's very pervasive in business. I also think calling the audible when a meeting goes into a gully, which is a new phrase for me when you go off topic, or when you get into a rabbit hole of which is also a phrase I use a lot. I don't think that's a corporate buzzword, but when you get off topic or you get off track or things get uncomfortable or unproductive, basically saying, hey, let's put a pause on this. Let's talk about this later. Let's do this someplace other than here is a good practice to keep things on track.
Now work.
All right, so that's it for our episode today. Big shout out to Jack Fischer. We love Jack Fischer. Thank you to Jack for joining us. Big shout out to Work Like a Girl. If you haven't already, you can sign up and join Work Like a Girl in my handle. So you can go to my Linktree and sign up for our Slack group there. If you haven't already and you want I don't know that our Labor Day sale will be going. Our Labor Day sale isn't going great. You will still be able to buy something for sale, 20% off at Schoolhouse when this episode comes out. If you can't, it means it went well. So I'll leave it to people to see if our sale went well or not. And we will see you back here on Monday.